Wendell Watson, and this is Wendell's Whining, day 21 of the zombie apocalypse, as more and more Americans are forced to shelter in their homes. To avoid this zombie outbreak, we begin to wonder what cost we are paying for this so-called problem, which in some circles is being called a hoax with fabricated results. Today in the studio, we have Dr. Leslie Benz. Dr. Benz is currently the CDC lead on this outbreak and a supposed expert on all things zombie. Dr. Benz, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me on your program again, Wendell.
For our viewers, could you describe what makes you an expert on this alleged outbreak?
I mean, you've already had me on your show like 5 times.
Yes, well, for the viewers tuning in for the first time tonight.
Okay, let's see, I've worked with the CDC for over 20 years, and before that, I earned my PhD at Johns Hopkins University.
Johns Hopkins, is that one of those for-profit colleges that you do online?
No, it is actually one of the most preeminent universities in the country.
So, Doctor, could you explain in detail just why this zombie thing has overtaken the world in the way that it has?
I'd be glad to, Wendell. You see, zombism, as we call it, has a 100% transmission rate, meaning if you get bitten by a zombie, you yourself will eventually turn into a zombie.
I see. And it's not because this whole ordeal has been overblown by mainstream media.
Well, no, that has nothing to do with transmission rates.
Doctor, you were a huge proponent in asking the American population to quarantine themselves away from this infection.
Yes. You see, in all our research into zombism, what we've found is that zombies all have very weak muscular and skeletal structures, meaning that they cannot open doors or break in windows, etc., in order to get into your house.
Yes, and are you still in favor of that, despite no real evidence that sheltering in place
There
works?
is evidence. There's plenty of evidence that zombies cannot get into your house. The whole reason behind the shelter-in-place order was that if we stay inside where the zombies cannot get in, then eventually, without a food source, the zombies will starve and then decompose, and then we can go back outside.
Yes, but Doctor, with over 1 million cases, couldn't the argument be made that the quarantine has been completely ineffective?
Well, no. Listen, when zombism first came to the United States, it took us over 2 weeks to issue the shelter-in-place order in the first place. Now, I have a graph. If you can take a look at this graph, I will
Sorry,
show
Doctor,
you...
we don't allow graphs on this program. Data is too easily faked.
Okay. When zombism first came to the United States, at first we downplayed the severity of the disease. But eventually, when we had first-hand evidence of people being bitten by zombies and then later turning into zombies, and when we saw that the rest of the world had already done it, we decided to do it and say we did it first.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, in an effort to be fair and balanced, we have Dr. Mark Swanson, a cosmetologist from Eureka Hearth, California. Dr. Swanson, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here today, and please call me Dr. Mark.
Well, Doctor, of course you have been following the zombie outbreak along with the rest of us, and it seems to have reached some surprising conclusions. From
Yes, Wendell. Well, when this whole thing started, we did what everyone else did. Closed our doors at my practice and sheltered in my condo. But after about a week, I started to notice some surprising trends in this so-called pandemic.
Interesting, Dr. Mark. Now, explain further.
Well, you have to understand, okay? I live in a small gated community just outside of Eureka Hearth, and so after about 15 days of shelter in place, I started to count the zombies roaming around in the neighborhood.
Interesting. And what were your findings?
Well, I started to see the same zombies over and over and over again. And I counted about 50 zombies in my neighborhood. And now, I know from our last homeowners association meeting that there are over 500 people in the community. So, taking the data, we were able to extrapolate that the transmission rate of this pandemic is actually closer to 10%.
Wait. Can I just butt in here
Hold
for
on,
a second?
Dr. Benz, we'll get back to you. Now, Mark, what else did you discover?
Well, once I started counting these zombies, I discovered that there were 0 deaths.
Well, that's because zombies don't die, they decompose.
Well, okay, look, so, what you have here is a so-called pandemic that if you look at the hard data, it infects only 10% of the population and has a 0% mortality rate. Now, if you look at something like vampirism, vampires, which has a transmission rate of 1% and a mortality rate of 100% if you stay out of the direct sunlight, I found like it was a different story than what the mainstream media was just trying to tell us.
Wait, are you comparing vampirism to zombism? They're two completely different things.
They both occur from being bitten, correct?
Well, yes. I mean, there are some similarities, but at their core, they're two completely different things. Now, with vampirism, you have to decide to become a vampire. You have to first be bitten by a vampire, and then drained, and then drink the blood of your sire. But with zombism, all you have to do is get bitten by a zombie, and then you turn
Dr.
into a
Benz,
zombie.
Please, let this expert talk. You might learn something.
Look, I think it's plain to see through the statistic I have laid out how overblown this pandemic really is. My recommendation is to continue to wash our hands, let us get back to our daily lives, and maintain a 6-foot social distancing.
Wait, are you suggesting we socially distance ourselves from zombies?
Let's be honest to the public, okay? Champagne corks kill almost 24 people a year. You don't see us banning champagne from after parties and New Year's or making people shelter in place every time a misplaced champagne cork just hits someone in the eye, do you?
Well, thank you, Dr. Mark, for this enlightening conversation. If you would like to access Dr. Mark's statistics, you can go directly to our website and download the appropriate JPEGs and videos for your Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok. Dr. Benz, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Just stay in your home. Zombies cannot get into your home. Just stay inside. And if you get bitten by a zombie, you are going to become a zombie. Now, if you'd like to see all the latest infection and transmission rates, you can head on over to...
Must have lost him. When we come back from commercial, we will research some studies which cite the effectiveness of drinking rubber and chlorine smoothies to combat zombie bites. This is Wendell Watson, and this is Wendell's Whinings.